If you ever get a job offer to be the night watchman at an abandoned building on a university campus, don't take it. Especially not at Ohio University's East Wing dorms, the ones they sealed off in 1987 after the incident. I thought I could handle a few creaky floors and power outages, but now I'm being hunted through decaying halls by something wearing my face. I took the job because it paid in cash. No taxes, no questions, and most importantly, no competition. No one else even showed up to the damn interview. When I arrived at the facility's office on Union Street, a pale, disinterested man slid an envelope across the desk toward me. He didn't even ask my name. Inside was a security badge, a set of keys labeled East Wing, restricted, and a folded piece of yellowing paper that simply read, "For night shift guard, East Wing, Lincoln Hall rules, read carefully, lives. Depend on it, clock in before 11:57 p.m. Not a minute later. Do not open any door marked with a red X. Not even if someone screams from the other side. Avoid the east stairwell between 2:13 a.m. and 3:06 a.m. If you hear footsteps during this time, hide. Never respond if someone calls you by your full name, especially if you haven't told them what it is. At exactly 4:44 a.m., walk to room 313, knock 3 times, and say, "We remember." Then walk away. Don't look back. If you see your reflection move differently than you do, leave immediately and contact Harold at extension 9. Finish your rounds by 5:55 a.m. Do not stay past 6 o'clock. The building doesn't like that. Failure to follow these rules will result in termination, or worse. There was no signature, no letterhead, just those words, typed with a ribbon that clearly hadn't been changed in years. That I thought it was a joke, that I wish it was a joke. 11:45 p.m. Arrival. The night was heavy with fog, the kind that clung to your skin like sweat. I parked beside the East Wing, a derelict section of Lincoln Hall cordoned off by rusted chain-link fences and peeling no-entry signs. The windows were blackened from the inside, and ivy had begun devouring the brick exterior like nature itself wanted to bury it. That I fumbled with the keys, my flashlight shaking slightly in my hand. I tried telling myself it was just nerves. First night jitters. Nothing serious. But as I stepped through the main entrance, something changed. The air shifted. It was colder inside. And not the kind of cold that comes from stone walls and poor insulation. It was deep, like it came from the bones of the building. My boots echoed unnaturally in the long corridor. The kind of echo that comes half a second too late, like someone repeating your footsteps right behind you. 12:03 a.m. The first rule is broken. I was still exploring when I noticed the time. Shit. I hadn't clocked in. I scrambled back toward the lobby, where an ancient punch clock sat against the wall like a museum relic. I shoved the card in. 12:03 a.m. A moment of silence followed. Then, a light above the east stairwell began to flicker, and I heard it. A soft thud. Then another. Then, a dragging sound. Coming up the stairwell. Rule number 1. Clock in before 11:57 p.m. I was too late. Dialogue. Hello? I called, voice wavering. No response. Then, soft whispering. Indistinct. Like multiple voices layered on top of each other. Male, female, old, young. All speaking at once, but saying the same word. Jason. My name. I froze. I never gave them my name. I backed into the lobby, heart hammering in my chest. That's when I saw the top of the stairwell, silhouetted by the flickering light, was a figure. My height. My build. Wearing my uniform. But the face, it was mine. Twisted into a grin I've never made in my life. 1:00 a.m. Security room. I barricaded myself in the old security office and tried to calm down. The monitors were dusty, but some of them still worked. Grainy black and white footage of the halls played on repeat. In one camera feed. Room 313's door stood ajar. A hand slowly emerged from the shadows inside. Long, pale fingers, nails too. Sharp. Then the camera cut to static. Rule number 5. At 4:44 a.m., go to room 313 and say, "We remember." Then walk away. Don't look back. Why? What the hell was in there? 2:14 a.m. The east stairwell again. Rule number 3. Avoid the east stairwell between 2:13 a.m. and 3:06 a.m. If you hear footsteps during this time, hide. The camera feed went blank again. Then came the footsteps. Not from the monitor, from just outside the room. click, clack, click, clack. Dragging that I held my breath. I didn't move. Then, wham, something slammed into the security room door. Not knocking, pounding. A single word, whispered from behind the door, wormed its way into my ear like a parasite. Jason. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I stuffed my fist in my mouth to keep from screaming. Eventually, the footsteps moved on, but not before I saw something on the other side of the door window. A second version of me. This one had no eyes, just deep black holes, and a grin that stretched too wide. 4:44 a.m. Room 313. I almost didn't go, but some instinct told me that breaking more rules would only make things worse. So I walked the hall. Every step felt like a funeral drumbeat. I stood outside the door to 313, heart pounding like a war drum. 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Then I whispered, "We remember." Silence, but I felt something pass through the door. A shift in the air, a presence moving past me. Then down the hall. I turned to walk away, but before I could stop myself, I looked back. The door to room 313 was open now. Inside, I saw photos nailed to the wall, photos of me, sleeping, eating, working, from angles that made no sense. Some taken inside my house, and beneath them, carved into the wall with what looked like fingernails, were the words, "We never forget those who break the rules." 5:55 a.m. Clocking out, I barely made it to the punch clock before 6:00. As I slammed the card into the machine, the building groaned, like it was angry. But the second the clock struck 6, I felt the weight lift, the oppressive air, the whispers. The mimic footsteps, they vanished. Like fog under sunlight. I left without saying a word to anyone. I should have quit then and there. I didn't. Because the envelope waiting on my windshield the next day wasn't a warning, it was another list, with new rules. Last night, I followed every rule, almost. I clocked in late. I looked back at room 313. I saw myself, but it wasn't me. I survived, but barely. And now the building, it's waking up. Because this morning, a new envelope appeared under my door, with 7 new rules, and 1 chilling postscript. The 4th floor has returned. Candle 10:15 p.m. The second envelope. I had barely slept. After returning home, I bolted every window shut, dragged furniture in front of my doors, and clutched my flashlight like a weapon. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up to scratching sounds on my bedroom wall, like fingernails tracing the inside of the drywall. That I tried to convince myself it was rats, squirrels, the wind. But when I stepped outside my apartment, taped to my door with black wax, was another envelope. This one was thicker, as if it held more than just rules. That I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was another typed list, smudged with something that looked like ash. Second set of rules. Lincoln Hall, East Wing. The 4th floor is accessible. Now, follow these new rules or face consequences. Do not take the elevator between 12:45 a.m. and 1:15 a.m. If it arrives anyway, do not enter it. It doesn't go where you think. The hallway to the 4th floor appears only after 2 a.m. You may be lured. Do not follow singing voices. If you find a locked room labeled 418, do not attempt to unlock it. Someone will offer you a key. Decline politely. If your flashlight begins to dim, shake it twice. If it still flickers, drop it immediately and leave that area. At 3:33 a.m., a phone in the abandoned RA office will ring. Answer on the third ring. Say only, "I'm still here." If you see a student in 1980s clothing crying near the window, do not comfort them. That is not a student. Before you clock out, check your reflection in the hallway mirror. If it smiles before you do, don't leave. Not yet. Note, more rules will follow. You have been warned. Stopwatch 11:58 p.m. Return to the East Wing this time. I clocked in early. The punch clock accepted my card with a mechanical clunk, as if the building itself approved. But even before I stepped inside, I noticed something was off. That a new door had appeared just past the lobby. I was certain it wasn't there before. Where a wall had once been was now a faded wooden archway. Above it, carved crudely into stone, were the words, "Stairs to 4th." I remembered something the janitor, Harold, had mumbled on my first day. If you ever see stairs where there weren't any, ignore him. The 4th doesn't exist. Not on blueprints. Not for us. He had limped away before I could ask more. Now the stairs were here, and they were waiting. Mantelpiece clock 12:46 a.m. The elevator as I made my first patrol round. The old elevator bell rang unexpectedly. The panel glowed. Ding! It was between the forbidden. Time frame. 12:45 to 1:15 a.m. I froze. The door slid open. Inside was me, standing still. Perfectly still. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Wearing my uniform. Soaked in something thick and black. The thing inside the elevator looked up, mimicking my slow head movement. Then it whispered, "We remember, Jason." The doors slammed shut. The elevator descended to a floor that didn't exist. Compass 2:03 a.m. The fourth floor, I shouldn't have gone. But curiosity mixed with terror like gasoline on fire. The stairs leading up to the fourth were old, cracked, and coated in dust thick as ash. I counted steps. There were 4 forward at the top. An old wooden hallway, lined with locked doors, paint peeled from every surface. Chandeliers swayed though there was no breeze. One bulb flickered as I passed. Then came the singing, faint, beautiful, childlike. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word." My feet started to move on their own. I tried to stop, but my legs disobeyed. The door halfway down the hall opened. Inside, a woman with blackened eyes stood holding a bundle in her arms. "Jason," she cooed, "you forgot your brother again." "I don't have a brother." The bundle began to writhe. She took a step forward. I ran. I didn't look back until I hit the stairs. The door slammed behind me. Telephone receiver 3:33 a.m. The phone Callie reached the RA's abandoned office at exactly 3:33 on cue. The dusty rotary phone on the desk began to ring. Ring, ring, ring. I picked up and whispered, "I'm still here." There was silence for a second. Then a raspy male voice, distant, metallic, replied, "You won't be. Not if you keep breaking the rules." Click. The line went dead, but a file cabinet behind me slowly opened on its own. Inside was a manila folder labeled Employee #111. J. Final warning. The photo clipped inside was me, sleeping in my bed last night, and scrawled on the bottom in red ink, "Do not look at the window tonight. It's watching you too." 4:19 a.m. Room 418. I don't remember how I got there. I just remember standing in front of it. Room 418. The forbidden one. Black burn marks around the frame. The knob twisted with melted metal. A little girl stood beside me, wearing a backpack, and smiling wide. Her eyes were milky white. She held out a rusted skeleton key. "You forgot your room key, Mr. Jason," she said sweetly. "No thank you." I choked out. She stopped smiling. That was the wrong choice. The hallway lights burst one by one, plunging everything into darkness. I turned and sprinted, but my footsteps echoed ahead of me, as if something was running faster in the same direction. 5:55 a.m. The mirror. As I reached the exit, I slowed. Near the final hallway. A mirror hung crooked on the wall. Rule number 7. Check your reflection. If it smiles before you do, don't leave. I looked. I didn't smile, but it did. A slow, evil grin curling up like cracked glass. I stepped away from the mirror, slowly, but the reflection didn't move. It stared, smiling, with eyes that began to bleed. And then it whispered one final thing. "We'll see you tomorrow night." Derelict House. Epilogue. 6:01 a.m. Outside the building, I got in my car and started the engine, swearing never to return. But the clock in my dashboard read 5:59. I blinked, and suddenly, I was back in the lobby. The punch clock reset, and on the desk was another envelope, written in fresh blood this time. It simply read, "Rule number 8. You can't quit." Last night, I was forced to climb a staircase that shouldn't exist. I saw my reflection smile before I did. I answered a phone that should have never rung, and I spoke to something that now won't stop following me. And when I tried to leave for good, the building pulled me back. Because now I know the truth. I'm not guarding the East Wing. I'm feeding it. Candle 10 p.m. Third envelope. The feeding cycle begins. I woke to find my bedroom walls covered in scratches. Not normal scratches. Words. My name. Over and over. Scratched from the inside of the drywall. And on the floor near my bed, a dead rat. Split open. Hollowed out. Its insides missing, except for a single crumpled piece of paper stuffed inside the chest cavity. I used tweezers to pull it out. Another set of rules, this time typed in crimson ink, smeared and soaked into the paper like it had bled from the printer. Lincoln Hall, East Wing. Night 3 rule set warning. The building is hungry. You will help feed it. The walls may throb, breathe, or pulse. Do not touch them. Between 1:10 a.m. and 1:30 a.m., the lights will go out. You must hum loudly. Silence is an invitation. If the vents start leaking black sludge, leave the hallway immediately. Do not slip. At 2:22 a.m., something will knock from behind the janitor's closet. Do not open it. Feed it something organic if it asks. The echoing laughter you hear after 3 a.m. is not real. It's bait. Don't follow it. If you see a version of yourself dragging a sack, it's collecting the night's offerings. Don't stop it. Don't speak to it. At exactly 5 a.m., go to the basement boiler room. The hatch will be open. Drop a piece of yourself inside. Underneath the rules was a postscript written in jagged ink. If you fail to feed it, it will feed on you. 12 o'clock, 11:50 p.m. Arrival at Lincoln Hall. My hands trembled the entire drive. The building loomed in the fog, its windows like lidless eyes. I parked, clocked in, early this time, and stood in the doorway for a long moment. You can still run, I thought, but my car keys had vanished from my pocket. The building didn't even let me choose anymore. 1:12 a.m., lights out. The breathing walls. I was in the central hallway when it happened. The lights popped out all at once, like bursting capillaries. Darkness swallowed everything. Then, the walls began to pulse that I don't know how else to describe it. Like a heartbeat surrounding me. Thump, thump, thump. Then they began to breathe. Inhale, exhale. The plaster stretched like wet skin. I remembered the rule. Hum. Loudly, so I did. I picked the first melody that came to mind. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, and hummed like my life depended on it. A gurgling noise passed inches from my head. Something dragged along the ceiling, pausing only when I hit the high notes. The humming confused it, but when I stopped to take a breath, just for a second, it screamed an inhuman screech. No lungs behind it, no soul, just hunger. I ducked into the nearest door and slammed it shut. Inside was a single flickering bulb swinging above a bloodstained cot. On the wall, etched in deep grooves, were the words, "It eats what you forget." Petri dish 1:47 a.m. The vents leak. I stepped into corridor B, where mold grew thick and damp on every surface. Then came the drip. Black liquid oozed from the ceiling vents, thick and viscous, like crude oil, but far more organic. It smelled like decay and burnt hair. A single drop hit my shoulder. I cried out as it sizzled, burning through my jacket. Rule number 3, leave the hallway. Do not slip. I sprinted, careful with every step, until something rolled across the hallway in front of me. A human eyeball, fresh, wet, blinking. I nearly slipped. The sludge pooled behind me as I reached the stairwell, just in time to hear the distant sound of something sucking through the vents. Feeding. Door 2:22 a.m. The janitor's closet. The knocking came exactly on time. 3 knocks, then silence. Then something whispered behind the metal door. Feed me. The voice was wet, mucus thick, childlike. I opened the emergency fridge in the hallway and found an expired sandwich. I tossed it in front of the door. Silence. Then a long, serpentine arm slid out from beneath the door. It had tiny fingers all the way up its length, each twitching, groping. It took the sandwich. More. I didn't move. It waited, then hissed. The door rattled. I reached into my backpack and pulled out my lunch, a protein bar and a bag of beef jerky. I placed it gently by the threshold. The arm retracted, wrapping the food and sliding back inside. The final thing I heard was the crunch of aluminum foil and the soft, innocent giggle of a small child with too many teeth. Performing Arts, 3:41 a.m. Echoes, and the Sackmani was in the eastern wing when I heard it. Laughter, not one voice, dozens, children, women, men, all echoing through the vents, the halls, the walls themselves. I froze. Rule number 5, don't follow it. Then, I saw myself, another version of me walking down the opposite corridor, dragging a large burlap sack. It was soaked in blood. I stepped behind a pillar and watched. The double stopped, sniffed the air, and smiled. "You're running low tonight, Jason," it said without looking. "Feed me better." Then it continued, dragging the sack into a crawl space I never noticed before. The sack twitched. Fire 5 a.m. The boiler room offering the hatch was open, rusty metal. Heat pouring out. I stepped forward and stared into the pit. At the bottom, Something writhed out a mass of teeth, bones, and eye sockets that opened and closed like mouths. A singular hunger. Rule number 7. Drop a piece of yourself inside. I hesitated, then pulled out my pocket knife. With shaking hands, I cut off a piece of my pinky nail, enough to bleed. I dropped it into the hatch. The mass below shuddered, then hissed in content. And just as I turned to leave, it spoke, not out loud, into my mind. More tomorrow, or it'll be your eyes. 5:55 a.m. Final check. And the reflection warps this time. The mirror didn't show me at all. It showed my apartment, my bedroom, and me sleeping. Except I wasn't home. I was still inside Lincoln Hall. The mirror version smiled. Then it whispered something I never said aloud. You've already let me in. Repeat button. 6 a.m. Clocking out. Or Noti ran for the clock. It was stuck at 5:59. I tried to punch my card. The machine jammed. I screamed and slammed it again. The moment it clicked, a scream echoed through the halls. A scream in my voice. I turned. The far end of the corridor was my apartment door, sitting inside the building. And something behind it was banging to get out. Drop of blood. Epilogue. The final note. I returned home, somehow, but I found a new object sitting on my kitchen table. A bone, not human, wrapped around it. A sticky note. Tomorrow is the final night. One last chance to follow every rule. If you fail, we'll replace you with a better version. It started with a simple job: watch over an abandoned university hall for one night. Then came the rules. Then came the whispers. Then came me. But not me. The thing that wears my face. The thing that smiles before I do. That knocks on the inside of my bedroom wall. Tonight is the final night. One of us doesn't leave alive. Candle 9:59 p.m. The final envelope arrives. I didn't sleep. After last night's incident with the mirror, I duct taped every reflective surface in my apartment. But the images kept bleeding through. Not directly, in shadows, in puddles, in the sheen of my own pupils when I blinked. The fourth envelope arrived inside my fridge, frozen inside a block of ice that I had to break it out with a hammer. Inside, final rules, scribbled in black wax on rotting parchment. More like a curse than a guideline. Final night. Lincoln Hall. Strange rules. You are no longer alone. The copy will appear in your uniform tonight. It may speak. Don't respond. At 12:44 a.m., the lights will flicker red. That means your copy is watching. Stay still until the lights return to white. If your walkie-talkie speaks in your own voice, destroy it immediately. At 2 a.m., one version of you will be in the West Hall mirror, the other in front of it. Only one leaves. If you survive, check your fingernails. If they're black underneath, you are not the original. If you are not the original, finish what the building started. Only one version of Jason clocks out tonight. Choose carefully. Mantelpiece clock 11 p.m. Arrival. The building is. Different. Lincoln Hall had changed. It was breathing again, but deeper, more confident, like something well-fed. The walls dripped like open mouths, and the bricks no longer felt like stone. They pulsed. I clocked in, but the card caught in the machine. For a moment, the digital clock flashed Jason instead of the time, and somewhere behind me, I heard my own footsteps, but I wasn't moving. 12:44 a.m. The red light. I was patrolling the third floor when the lights snapped red. A blood-washed hue flooded every corridor. Everything looked overexposed, as if reality had been cranked to its maximum contrast. I froze. Then I saw it. My copy. Further down the hallway, standing completely still, smiling. He raised one hand and waved, then started walking toward me. I held my breath, hands trembling, forcing myself not to move. The lights buzzed, flickered, then returned to white. He was gone. But on the wall where he had stood, something had been carved. One of us must burn. Radio 1:06 a.m. The walkie-talkie. Betrayal. My shoulder-mounted walkie buzzed. Jason, I'm trapped. I didn't follow the rules. You have to help me. They're going to take me. It was my voice, identical, the same cough I'd made earlier. In the night, replayed like a recording. I hesitated. Then rule number 4 echoed in my head. If your walkie-talkie speaks in your own voice, destroy it immediately. I ripped the device from my shoulder and smashed it against the wall until it sparked and hissed. From somewhere below, a scream echoed. My scream, guttural and betrayed. Why would you do that to me? I didn't answer, but I knew I had. Only made it angry. 2 a.m. The mirror dual the West Hall mirror. I arrived shaking. The frame was splintered. The floor around it was littered with feathers, nails, and chunks of human scalp. And there, I saw him. My copy, standing inside. The mirror. I was in front of it. He raised his hand. I did too. A test. Then he blinked first and smiled. I'm the real one, he whispered. You're just a thought the building had once. I raised the crowbar I carried. He did too. Only he dropped his weapon. That's when I knew. I smashed the glass, leapt through, and strangled him. The space inside the mirror was cold. No sound, just darkness and pressure and screaming. He tried to bite me, scratch me. His teeth were wrong. His tongue was split. I strangled until he stopped. When I climbed back through, the hallway was different, quieter. Blackheart, 4 a.m. Checking the nails. Rule number 6. Check your fingernails. If they're black underneath, you're not the original. I sat in the flickering hallway under the blood-spattered student wellness poster. My hands trembled. I scraped under my left nail with my knife. Clear. Right hand. Clear. Middle finger. Black sludge. Thick. Moving. I gagged. Scrubbed until my skin bled. I couldn't get it out. That's when I understood the final rule. If you are not the original, finish what the building started. Fire, 5 a.m. The boiler room again. The hatch was open. The furnace below glowed white hot. The mass inside pulsed. Larger now. Its hundreds of mouths whispered in unison. Feed us him. Finish yourself. I stood on the edge of the pit. My mind fractured. Was I the original? Was I the copy? I remembered memories that weren't mine. Smells from rooms I'd never entered. A woman calling my name that didn't match my birth certificate. My reflection moved behind me again, smiling. Jump, it said. Let the real Jason go. 5:55 a.m. The final clock out. I dragged myself to the punch clock. My hands soaked in blood. Mine, his, both. I punched in the card. Click. The clock read 6:00 a.m. Exactly. Then the card machine split in two. Inside was a photograph. Of me. Or the copy. Burning, and beneath it, a final message. Congratulations. You fed the hall. You're now part of it. Repeat button. Epilogue. The new shift this morning, I received a knock on my door. A man stood there in a Lincoln Hall facilities uniform. Pale, hollow-eyed. He held a clipboard. New assignment, he muttered. You'll be training the next night watchman. We've already made his copy. I looked in the mirror behind him. I smiled. It smiled first, and then I said, Welcome to the Forgotten Halls.